Hey guys, this is Jeff with Tenicor. We're going to talk today about our new holsters, the Sprint and the Sprint LUX, and how to assemble them. Assembly for both the Sprint and the Sprint LUX is exactly the same. The Sprint holster is going to come with the holster and then also a hardware pack. In that hardware pack, you're going to have several bungee cords and then a bunch of hardware. Most important hardware is going to be the mounting posts. It comes with 3 different mounting posts, 3 different heights of rubber spacers, and 3 different heights of screws. The rubber spacers come in 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 inch heights. The screws come in 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch heights. On the back of the holster, you'll see there is this T-shaped mounting platform. That T-shaped mounting platform will work with a variety of different mounting systems. We'll talk about all the different mounting systems later on in the video. For now, I'm going to use the Blue Force gear hanger and we're going to set this up. So I will take the holster and I'll line it up with the hanger to see which holes line up the best. I'm going to set this up with 0 degree. So this one's going to be the bottom one and the 2 outboard on the top of the T. I'm going to take a mounting post and put that up into the holster. Place this on the 0 degree mark, and just looking at this, I think I can get away with mounting directly with the 1/4 inch screw. From there, I'm going to place the other mounting posts in. Again, use the 1/4 inch screw. And then the 3rd mounting post and a 1/4 inch screw. From there, you can mount this onto a belt. So for the Blue Force gear, it's going to work best with their chalk belt. The Sprint and the Sprint LUX both come with 2 retention adjustment screws. So if your retention is either too tight or too loose, you can adjust the screws accordingly to increase or decrease retention on the holster. In addition to the mounting hardware, it comes with 3 bungee cords. The bungee cords are for adding retention to the holster so that if you are doing something active with the holster where you don't need to access the gun immediately, you can put a bungee strap over the top of the gun to make sure it stays in there. Both the Sprint and the Sprint LUX have eyelet holes in them. The bungee cord is designed to thread directly into those eyelet holes. Thread it through there, and then I'll come to the front across the sight channel. And the first thing I'm going to do is just tie a square knot and pull it, not so it's super tight around the gun, but just so it is somewhat firm, and finish off my square knot, and I can pull that tight. And then if I want to come over across the back, there's enough slack to retain it there. If I want to go forward over the front as well, there is enough to retain it there. So what I'm going to do here is tie an overhand knot really close to my square knot, and then I'm going to tie a second one a little higher from there. You can trim this or tie whatever other things you want and burn the end, and then you'll have something that is easy to grab onto and also can tuck out of the way. The reason why we send 3 is because the bungee cords are really hard to untie. And so if you get frustrated and you don't want to untie it, you can simply just cut the bungee, toss that away, and then use one of the other bungee cords. So I have this Sprint LUX direct mounted onto this Blue Force gear hanger. So we'll go ahead and try this on. There are basically 3 different things you can play with the setup of your Sprint or Sprint LUX. So you can change the angle that the gun sits relative to your body. You can also change the angle that the gun sits with forward or rearward cant. And the 3rd thing you can change is the position that the hanger sits on your belt. And so we'll first address the angle relative to your body. If you look here, you might see that it's actually tipped slightly in towards me. So like the muzzle is basically, if you had a center line down my body, the muzzle is further away from that center line than the top of the gun. The angle is relatively slight, but what can happen here is as you draw the gun, you can see the holster comes up a little bit. And this is a really short hanger. For longer hangers, that's going to be even more pronounced. And with a longer hanger, sometimes what people will do is they'll put a leg leash or leg tie of some sort in order to pin this down and hold this in place so it doesn't rotate out as they draw it. Another thing you can do to help mitigate that is going to be to change the angle of this. Let's look at how we're going to do that. So rather than direct mounting it, what we can do is we can mount it with spacers. This holster comes with 3 different height spacers. It comes with 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and then 3/8 inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 1/8" spacer on the bottom. And then I'm going to take the 3/8" spacers and put them on the top. So on the bottom, I'm going to want to use the 3/8" screw with that 1/8" spacer. And then on the top, we're going to use the 1/2" screw with the 3/8" rubber spacer. The hard rubber spacer is going to form to the angle between the holster hanger and the holster itself. So from there, now you can see the angle here has changed. So again, if you have a center line down the middle of my body, now the muzzle end of the gun is closer to that center line than the top of the gun. And so when I go to draw, there is probably still some upward movement of the hanger away from the body, but it's not as pronounced as it was before. This works really well for shorter holster hangers like this Blue Force Gear one. Again, if you have a longer holster hanger, you're probably going to want to set it up and have even more angle or add a leg leash to ensure that the holster doesn't rotate out as you draw the gun. The next thing we want to look at is the forward or rearward cant of the gun and the holster. And so if you look here, the gun is actually set up with 0 cant, but my belt doesn't actually sit flat to the world because of the tilt of my hips and everything. And that's going to be the case for most people. In order to get the gun to sit straight up and straight down, you're going to have to adjust the cant a little bit. And so what I can do with that is I want to make sure I have a holster hanger that is designed for this. You got to have some sort of adjustment on there, but I can just loosen this up on this Blue Force Gear one. And basically I will just rotate this forward 5 degrees and then I can tighten this back down. I'm rotating the bottom of the gun forward, the top of the gun to the rear, kind of opposite of like an FBI cant. So now the gun is sitting more straight up and down, which some people are going to like that for their draw. Some people even are going to want to rotate the grip of the gun even more to the rear, and they're going to feel like that is going to provide a better presentation of the gun. The next thing we can do is play with the placement of the hanger on the belt line. So for something like the Blue Force Gear one, you just have to undo those screws, adjust its position, and then screw it back down again. For something like this Safariland one, you can just slide this thing on the belt. So from here, if I want to mount this pretty far forward on my hip, I can just thread that forward more on my hip. So I'm pretty far forward there, kind of straight up and down. What some people are going to want to do is put some angle on here. We're going to want the grip to rotate back. And so now I have the gun is actually rotated out. It's rotated out away from my body. It's positioned further forward and it's rotated back as well. And so some people are going to like a position like that because they feel like it is a very neutral position for their hand and it is relatively fast. These mounting posts we've designed to go into this T-shaped blocking with several different holes down the middle and slots on the side that works with a variety of different hangers for mounting on your belt. The Safariland works really well for mounting. Again, you can direct mount or you can use some sort of spacer to stand off from. It also works really well with the Blue Force Gear. And then the third thing it works really well with is the TrueNorth Concepts hanger. So the TrueNorth Concepts hanger has a variety of different holes and slots on it. And so you can kind of place this almost anywhere you want. You're probably gonna need to use some sort of standoff or hardware on this. So either the spacers or something like a QLS fork system. In addition to those 3 hangers, it also works with a variety of different things. So it works with the Blackhawk system, either the hanger here or the belt slot. It works with the new Blade Tech mounting system. It works with G-Code. You have the G-Code hanger system, it'll work with that, and it'll also work with the S&S Precision hanger system. In addition to these hangers that are geared towards the tactical community, it'll also work with some of the competition-focused hangers. So we've tested it on the Henning, and we've also tested it on the Boss hanger, and it'll work with either one of those systems. So let's talk about setting this up with the Safariland QLS system. So some people like the convenience of the QLS system, and we're gonna have QLS forks and QLS receivers available on our website. You'll have the included Tenicor hardware along with the QLS hardware. And so what you'll want to do is just mount the fork directly to the holster. You want to make sure you use the Tenicor mounting posts in here, and then you can use either the Tenicor or the Safariland screws to go with it. So I'm going to use the Tenicor 3/8" screws on here. that go with these mounting posts. You can also mount this with spacers. So if you want to have some outward angle rotation, again, you can use the hard rubber spacers on here to provide yourself with a little bit of angle. For the receiver, I'm going to use the provided Safariland posts. So if I place the posts in, then I can use the Safariland hardware. Once you've mounted the receiver plate to the hanger, the QLS fork can go inside. And then obviously provides a nice platform. If you prefer a standoff of the gun to provide better access for gripping, the QLS fork is helpful for that. And then if you want to have multiple different holsters that basically go onto the same belt setup, the QLS fork is great for that convenience. So again, the holster, when you buy it, it does not come with a holster hanger, and it does not come with a QLS fork or a QLS receiver. So if you want that stuff, you got to buy that stuff separate, either from us or from Safariland or Blue Force Gear or some other vendor. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in a Sprint or Sprint Lux, you can go get one at Tenicor.com.